Welcome into the Steelers Talk mailbag. I am your host, Jack Sperry. Today we are going to be talking about your questions. We're going to be addressing your questions on the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's been kind of a shaky first 2 weeks this year. Heading into this week's game versus the New England Patriots, I want to see where you guys are at, what questions you have for me. And I love having this two-way dialogue with you guys every single week. We film these mailbags every single Thursday on our Steelers Talk live shows. If you guys want to get a question on a future edition of the Steelers Talk Q&A, you guys can watch our live shows on Thursdays starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time and get your questions in for free. So join the most interactive Steelers community anywhere on YouTube. We go live twice during the week and then again on game day. We also put out daily and free content on this channel every single day. All right, so now let's get into the questions, starting with JT Clover says, how much would you want TJ to move on Sunday? So I think he's asking in terms of moving around formationally. Listen, man, I think the right tackle position is going to be very, very vulnerable for the New England Patriots. Now, I think you want to move him around enough to make the Patriots guess on some things. But, I think I've seen a lot of people say just put him on the other side and it's magically going to fix the run defense. Guys, they're going to just run away from T.J. Watt no matter where he's lined up. If you put Watt in the middle, they're going to run outside off tackle. If you line them up to the right, they're going to run left like they have over the first 2 weeks. If you line them up over on the other side, then they're going to run to the right. So, T.J. Watt is just such a good run defender. He is the number one graded PFF run defender among edge rushers through the first 2 weeks. And, that's why they're running away from him, because he's one of the best, if not the best, run defending edge rusher in the league still, even at his age. So we'll see how much they move him around, but I think with Morgan Moses dealing with an injury this week, he's questionable to go. And if he can't go, that offensive line depth there at right tackle for New England is putrid. So that right tackle position, that position that he usually lines up against, should be pretty advantageous for him. So hopefully the coverage on the back end can give him a little bit more time. He's been getting early wins. It's just the quarterback's getting the ball out of his hands so quickly because of the coverage on the back end that the Steelers have been running these first 2 weeks. And I'm hoping that this Steelers coaching staff can wake up a little bit and give this pass rush a little bit more time to get home. Because I think if they do that, we might be seeing fireworks. Then we get to Eric Gender, says, who on the Patriots offense do you think will be the biggest problem for Pittsburgh's defense? And who on the Patriots defense will give the offense the biggest problem? Good question, Eric Gender. For the offense, TreVeyon Henderson hasn't gotten a ton of carries or a ton of run these first 2 weeks, but you look at the two guys that have beaten the Steelers on the ground the first 2 weeks. Slasher types, Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, really explosive guys, and that's what TreVeyon Henderson is, right? So if there's going to be a player on this offense for New England that is going to be a big problem, I think it could be TreVeyon Henderson. Now, obviously, Drake May, if he plays a terrific game or if you give him easy answers, he's going to take them. So obviously, Drake May and his skill set will be a problem as well. But the guy that can truly do what Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall did for their respective teams, obviously, I think that TreVeyon Henderson is their more explosive back. So keep your eye on Henderson. Then on the other side of the ball, Patriots defense, the guy that can give this team the most issues is probably Christian Gonzalez, I would say. Just because he can man up DK Metcalf and probably take him away more often than not. That is good. That's a tough ask going up against guys big as DK for anybody. But Christian Gonzalez is legitimately a top 5 corner in the game, in my opinion. So he can take away anybody. You're going to have to distribute the ball a bit more this week, in my opinion, and not have to rely on DK. Not that DK has been stellar these first 2 weeks, but I do think Rodgers will have to rely on some other weapons to get the job done this week. Then we got one from Meany. It says, Jack, with rumors targeting Tyreek Hill as a trade candidate for us. If Miami continues this trajectory, Jaylen Waddle may be a better fit, and the price if Finns do a fire sale. Your thoughts? Well, according to Mike Florio, and guys, I do not trust Florio's word on a lot of these things, but he said the Steelers are no longer in on a Tyreek Hill trade because of his off-field antics. I find it hard to believe the Steelers were not aware of his off-field antics beforehand, so I don't know. So if that's the case, they were just never in on him. So I don't know how much I trust that report from Florio. But Jaylen Waddle, younger player, I don't know if Miami's going to want to let him go. Also, they gave him a contract extension, I think it was last year, so I really don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to trade Jaylen Waddle. Makes a lot more sense to trade Tyreek Hill, in my opinion. kind of a cancer in the locker room for them. Older player, big contract, get him off the books. So I'm not sure, Meanie, if Jaylen is going to be a legitimate possibility for us. Elevate LT says, can the Steelers get Chris Jones if the Chiefs suck this year? If you're talking about trade deadline, I don't think the Chiefs are going to suck that bad, man. Like they've been very competitive against two very good teams. Most people have the Chargers and Eagles both in their top 5 in their power rankings, and just a couple of tough breaks led to those not going the other way. They could very easily be 2-0 against two of some of the best teams in the league, right? So maybe some of their fourth quarter luck has run out. Maybe they used it all last year when they won all those one-score games. But, yeah, I don't really see Chris Jones being made available. If he is, go out and get him if you can. The only pick I'm not willing to give up, no matter what, is next year's first-round draft pick and 2027's first-round draft pick. Those are the only 2 picks that are 100% off the table for me for any player. So I guess we'll see what happens, but I would say highly doubt it, Elevate. What say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. What player, if any, should the Steelers trade for this season? Who's a guy that you want them to target here before the trade deadline this year? This will be the pinned comment on today's show. Let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comment section when YouTube throws this ad break your way. Got one from my man Czar Craig. Says, if Ja'Whaun Bentley plays really well, does Malik Harrison get waived when healthy? I don't think so. I think Malik gives too much value as a special teamer. I think they'll probably waive Carson Bruner as the guy that they'd prefer to waive. Low-level draft pick. If someone picks him up on waivers, that would be unfortunate because I'm sure they'd want to keep him on practice squad, but I think that's a risk they'd be willing to take. But Harrison, I don't really see him getting cut. Really good special team player. And then also if Bentley gets hurt, Harrison is also another thumper type of guy. He's not quite as good, but he's a good backup thumper in that role. So I think they want to keep him. Kevin Reed says, if the O-line continues to struggle this season, do you think they spend more draft capital in the early rounds on next year's draft? Certainly possible. It's also possible they go out in free agency because here's the thing, Kevin. If you're looking for starting offensive tackle talent in particular, you usually got to find it in the first round. If you're looking for a person to start right away, definitely got to get him in the first round. So if you're replacing Broderick Jones and he's done, you're going to have to use your first-round pick on Broderick Jones' replacement, or you can go out in free agency and get one. So right now, I would say if they're replacing Broderick, free agency is actually probably the more likely option, especially because you have another younger player on the other side in Fautano. So getting a little bit of balance between veteran and younger player might make some sense. So honestly, I think left tackle or right tackle might be one of the bigger needs and one of the bigger targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers in free agency next year. Got one from Truth Thong. What a name. Says, does Calvin Austin impress you? On film, yeah, he does. Calvin reminds me a lot of guys like Darnell Mooney and Tank Dell, where they're smaller receivers, but they threaten to all levels of the field. Obviously, Calvin is awesome after the catch, and he's got great vision, so you can send him on a shallow crosser, and you can get him the ball out in space, and he's just got runaway speed and great vision when he's out in space. But then he's also got some really great wiggle as a route runner and obviously great speed to run away from guys. So he's open pretty consistently on film. And then he can obviously beat you deep and take the top off the defense with that 4.3 speed that he's got. Plus, he's got better hands than people give him credit for. He's made some tough catches. Remember that 50-50 ball back shoulder in week 1 versus the Jets? He's been doing that quite consistently, going back to 2024. Made some really tough catches for Russ last year. He's not going to be much of a run blocker, but as a receiver, I think that he is potentially a legitimate number 2 guy. And we saw that come out in week 1. Week 2, there were some opportunities to get him the football. The play where Aaron Rodgers got ripped down by his horse collar and it wasn't called. Calvin was streaking towards the end zone for a touchdown, and he was throwing it to him. So we might be talking about Calvin having another nice corner route touchdown if that play doesn't happen with the horse collar on Rodgers. But Calvin Austin third. I've been saying it for 2 years. Really impressive on film. And I think that he's going to continue to show that he's capable of being this team's number 2 receiver. Before we get to the rest of today's questions, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Prize Picks. You and I, we both make decisions every single day, guys, but most of those decisions don't get you paid. But if you download the Prize Picks app, which is free, by the way, on your phone right now, you guys can actually get paid for your correct decisions. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Football season is finally here, and you better believe I'm going to be getting my Prize Picks lineups in all season long. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a new feature from Prize Picks that I absolutely love is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count it as a loss. You guys can take a look at my Prize Picks projections here. Taking the more on both Jaylen Warren longest run and rushing yards total. I'm taking the more on Travion Henderson rushing yards this week. And I'm taking the more on Patrick Mahomes free play there with the passing yards. So you guys can get your Prize Picks projection in for this week's Steelers matchup by downloading the Prize Picks app today and using code CLNS to get $50 on lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Another one here from JT Clover says Jaylen Warren will be a top blank running back by week 18. Is it crazy to say top 10? I really don't think so, man. Like with his contact balance, his ability to catch the football and run with it, his vision, his cutting ability, frankly, he's got pretty darn good long speed too. Like he's been one of the more underrated backs in a long time, even by Steelers fans, by the way. Like Steelers fans would say he's not big enough to take on a full number 1 running back workload. Bullshit, man. This guy is built like a tank. He's fast. He does all the stuff that you want your number 1 running back to do, man. So really excited for his future here with this football team, man. I think he's the best offensive player on the Steelers right now. You got to feed him the football. Eugene Payne says, I think that right now the best QB for Pittsburgh, the draft, is the LSU QB. I'd be happy with Garrett Nussmeier. He's a baller. He's a dude. He throws with great anticipation. He's just a gamer, man. And you can see when he's in those close games, like that close game against Clemson in the season opener, like you can just see the intensity, the focus. That's the level of competitor that you want in your football team. And then also, here's another added benefit. We've talked about the Cognize VR technology before, and the Steelers potentially implementing that. Garrett Nussmeier uses that Cognize stuff at LSU, just like Jaden Daniels did. So getting a guy that can bring that Cognize stuff here to Pittsburgh and kind of set the standard for Pittsburgh quarterbacks in the future, I think is absolutely fantastic stuff, and I think that that's what I would do if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers. Michael Hyrick comes in and says, what do you think about signing Odell Beckham to Pittsburgh Steelers before bye week? They just signed Isaiah Hodgins. That's their answer in terms of a backup wide receiver, in my opinion. And I actually like the signing. Hodgins is tall. He's 200 pounds. He's a good short and intermediate route runner. He's got good hands. He provides a lot of things from a bigger receiver perspective that nobody else on this team provides. DK Metcalf has a limited route tree. Of course, Calvin, Roman, and Scotty are all tiny, so to have another bigger receiver they can put in certain formations, early down situations, stuff like that. He's not going to change the world or the season or be a complete needle mover, but he's a contributing piece that I think will find his way on the field this year. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already, if you are a real one here on Steelers Talk. Really do appreciate your guys' support. It helps out the channel, helps put our videos in front of more Steelers fans like yourselves. So if you're a real one, you want to help out the channel today, it takes a half second of your time to click that thumbs up icon. Next question coming in from Madden God says, how sick of Mike Tomlin are you? For me personally, I'm getting there. All right, I am. And I'm somebody that, acknowledges all the good things that Mike Tomlin has done here. I'm not someone that pretends that Mike Tomlin has been terrible his entire tenure here in Pittsburgh, like it seems like a lot of Steelers fans are doing nowadays because of the recent stretch of poor defensive play from the Steelers. But plain and simply, man, if he doesn't figure it out in the next several weeks, he should be fired at the end of the season. Like, there's just too much talent here to play the kind of defense that they've played the first 2 weeks, to have the mistakes alignment-wise. to play people out of position the way that he has, looking at you, Keanu Benton. It's just got to be better. Plain and simply, guys, if he doesn't fix it, he should be gone. Ali the Reaper says, why haven't they paid Boz yet? Well, they could have paid him during the offseason, and they didn't. Obviously, Boz agreed to come back and play on his current contract, and they don't negotiate contracts during the season. So you're not going to see a Chris Boswell contract during the year. Now, what I'm guessing is the Steelers will make him the highest paid kicker in football next offseason. All right, so Boz isn't going anywhere, man, especially if he keeps it up. So, and I think he's probably going to be the highest paid kicker in football eventually down the road. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there, Ali. Hip Hop Anonymous says, why is Tomlin given so much leeway when we all know he won a Super Bowl off of Cowher's team and their discipline? You know who would disagree with this, Hip Hop Anonymous? The players that won that Super Bowl with Mike Tomlin. The players that played for Mike Tomlin would tell you that Tomlin was a big part of that Super Bowl run and a big part of building that Super Bowl team. Now, obviously, a lot of bleed over came over from Cowher's team, and I think it's a perfectly fair criticism of Mike Tomlin that he has failed to get the offensive coordinator right, at least to this point. We'll see on Arthur Smith, but also to build a team and to be a team builder and to get the right, put the puzzle pieces together to get his team, back into hoisting Lombardi trophies, right? But, a lot of players have come in under the Tomlin regime and they have developed and they have been great players here with Pittsburgh. So, I think that he would have fallen off a cliff a long time before this if he was just a bad coach all along and he was riding the coattails off of Bill Cowher. I think Bill Cowher himself will tell you that Mike Tomlin is not a bad football coach. All right, so I think that this is a popular narrative because, obviously Tomlin wins a Super Bowl 2 years removed from the Cowher regime. But Tomlin, here's another thing, guys. In a league as competitive as the National Football League, you cannot be a bad head football coach and win a Super Bowl. It's impossible. It doesn't matter what roster you have. Now, there's guys that can, kind of have one fluky type of season and never win one again. And it certainly seems like Tomlin, at least to this point, has been that type of guy. But, you have to be at least a competent NFL head coach to win a Super Bowl. You cannot be just absolutely objectively terrible and just ride the coattails of another team's or another coach. It's just not the way it works. So, Hip Hop Anonymous, I respect your opinion there, but I disagree with it. I think the players on that Super Bowl team would disagree with it. I think Bill Cowher would disagree with it. But you're definitely open to have your own opinion. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Should the Steelers fire Mike Tomlin if they fail to win a playoff game this season? Yes or no? I don't think if they make the playoffs, they're going to fire him. I just don't. I think they're going to have to miss the playoffs. I think the defense will have to play poorly the entire season, or at least most of the season. And honestly, I don't see those things happening. I see this team bouncing back. I really do. And making the playoffs and being a legitimate threat in the AFC playoff picture by the time we get to January. Remember, guys, last year we were talking about this Steelers defense like it was literally the best defense in the league at this point last year, and how'd that end up in January? Teams are different in December and January than they are in September, all right? So teams grow, teams decline. We saw that last year. We saw it with the Eagles last year who had a slow start. There's still a lot of football left to be played here, folks. So that's my, that's my message to Steelers Nation this week as we prepare for that Patriots game on Sunday. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on this mailbag. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys. Here we go, Steelers.